coming to you live. I'm live in the subarctic. Michael is not live in the subarctic. He is live elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm live cave in the sky from the beautiful, if a little, not very, not too many people here on the Las Vegas Strip. So you just
Yes,
kind of
yes,
hung.
indeed. But there are still places to get takeaway.
I was at, you will never, ever guess where I was at yesterday.
Ping, pang, pong. Jesse Ray's.
Jesse Race.
Ah, there we
Jesse
are.
Race. So you can
Good
actually
to
go to
go.
Jesse Race and order. And so I have a pound and a quarter of Texas brisket style in my refrigerator. I have a lot of barbecue that I've been eating.
Did you eat the horse's ass out of some waffle fries?
I unfortunately did not, partially because I know that if you don't get it pretty quickly, then the fries themselves, because they're so damn hot, get humid and they just get kind of soggy.
Yeah, yeah. They
So
don't. They
I,
don't.
you know,
They don't last long. So
no, and you got to take your food home with you. So I mean, it's going to go right into a closed container, and then I had to leave and get out of the way, and so I didn't chance it.
yeah, good. But probably a good call. Yeah, because otherwise you'd have been eating in your car in
I
the
tried.
Beamer. The
I
Beamer.
tried, but I was talking to somebody.
Oh yeah, that might have been me.
On my day off.
Yep, yep, yep. But Mike, but you are back now. So yeah, yeah. You took 2 days off, and
I
I think
did.
you called me both days of your days off. So
I did.
and we told some good ass jokes, which I'm not wearing pants right now, so I won't stand up. So I do that to you
You,
every time,
I
every
know.
time. I did
I
it to you
know.
yesterday too. We were on the phone, and I still said
Yeah,
it.
and once I still have not found the appropriate bleach for my mind. In fact, there's bleaches out everywhere, both for your mind and for your clothes.
Yep, yep. So your days off for a mental health break. I
Yeah.
think that's important. I because especially once you're trapped at home, it's and people who work now, you're finding out that if you write full time, that you never get a day off. If you're at home, it's like, oh, let me get the words. I'm doing this, and you're online. You check Facebook. You commune with your fans. Then you jam a few more words, and all of a sudden the day's gone. And then you do it again, and then all of a sudden you don't know what day it is because you never get a day off. So that's the trial once you go work from home is you have to build that in. So talk to us about taking days off.
Well, for me, a little bit different, but I never wanted to take days off. I was so involved in what was going on day to day, and every single day there was something more to do, more to do. And so I proverbially felt like I was behind. And the ability for me to kind of pull back out of it started last year when we hired a few key positions, or we engaged with a company, if you will, for a few key positions where I didn't have to, even if I had chosen not to do it. We'll take, let's say, advertising, for example, something that I did not ever want to really outsource until I found somebody that I felt was trustworthy and that wasn't really doing it for other companies. And so even if I hadn't done it, I felt stressed about it. Like, oh, and I should have gotten to that today.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have done this today. And then so in 2020, the year of unscrewing ourselves, Mr. Martelle, it has become obvious that we are getting better and better at, even though we have an incredibly fast pace, we're able to do it. We've become acclimated. We're getting the processes a little bit more better. And so I'm looking around from time to time. I have things to do, but I'm not like stressed out. It's not like, oh, and I got to get this done. It was due yesterday. Oh, I got to get this done. It was done last Tuesday. Now, partially that's because I forget about some of the books I need to read. So, sorry for those of you who I'm supposed to be reading your books. I'm like, oh, crap. I was supposed to update myself on that one. But I just decided that, you know what? I was getting to Sunday night. And when you get that Sunday night and all of a sudden you don't want to go to work in on Monday morning, there's a problem.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'm
Yep.
like, you know what? I just want a couple of days where I'm not supposed to be anywhere. I'm not supposed to be on any phone calls. And I'm just going to let that run into 4 days so that I just can have a mental break. And what it has shown me is, so Thursday was yesterday. Thursday, 2 days ago, was my first day.
Yeah.
And I checked a few things, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like wipe out some of the relevant conversations on Thursday morning. And then I did that, and I go, I don't think I was supposed to do that. So I went through through the afternoon, and here in Nevada they had just shut down the state, so it was those almost mandatory stay at home. So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
shoot, let me go to the grocery store. So I went into the grocery store and did a couple of those things. So and ended up at, I don't remember where, but I went to a grocery store, the bank, Target. Oh, went to the barbecue to a new barbecue place. Heaven forbid, I was cheating on Jesse Ray's, but it was near the Target, and I really wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
So, and we had a discussion about chili. No beans, by the way. So there's only two choices about chili. It's no beans or you're wrong. So, but by Friday,
So
I
what
was
do you
kind
think
of.
about elbow mac in your chili?
Are you talking about putting the the
Yeah, cooking it in your chili.
no. It's my thought, but it wouldn't stop me from eating it if it was good. Because I grew up on both potatoes and rice, which some people are like, "What the hell are you doing putting anything in your chili?"
Yeah.
But so anyway, by yesterday afternoon, I was almost cured, if you will, of needing to go. Now I've seen it a couple of times. I've had to take a look, and holy shit, is my to-do list long. I probably got 30 to 40 channels worth of messages I have to go through. And some of them are just one message, and some of them are 8 messages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Now I'm not like, oh, I'm tempted to do it. It's like, oh God, I have to go to it.
Yeah. Yeah. You should do it now while we're live. Um, no, don't do that.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah,
we don't and then we'll be able to do screen captures of your face with the various ones that are, oh hey, good news, and ones are like, what the fuck, and then some all the ones in between. We can do
yeah.
Michael Anderle face. Which one are you? Chaotic neutral, lawful evil.
Oh,
I mean,
I wish. What I need to do that. I need to like do a somewhat how do you say that? Schizophrenic?
yeah, something like that.
Schizophrenic character, and just where they randomly roll like the Joker. Today I'm going to answer this question lawful good. It's like all their friends are like, what happened to you? I rolled chaotic evil. Oh shit, it's going to be one of those days.
Rolled boxcars. You're in
Yeah.
yeah, you're in Vegas. Hey, just want to do a shout out. Thanks for joining us, Hal, Annalise, Danielle Crowd is on, and and the other good folks, Anna Lane, of course, doing the here's how you get your name where we can see you. And otherwise, I mean, you can see each other on Facebook, but we can't see you through Be Live, the portal that we use, the porthole to the world. Um, so, so one of the things when I talked with Todd McCaffrey, I forgot to talk about overall story arc, because he's doing a series of novellas. They're just published number 15. They're doing one a month, and and somebody had asked a question about how do you keep it all together. Well, I know when I've done novellas, I still like a complete story. You did a 21 book arc with the Kurtherian Gambit, and each book was a complete story where they started. There was a conflict. There was something that needed resolved. The hero's journey. They resolved it. Everybody was happy at the end, but it was still within a bigger arc. And you did 3 arcs, so you had a really big arc. You had a
Hmm.
7 book arc, and then you had each book's arc. So, wanted to talk about that. What kind of tips do you have for somebody to plan that out before they even start that first book?
You want me to talk now?
Yeah,
I'm good. Oh, okay.
I know I
I can never
ramble. I
tell
go
with sometimes.
on and on and on.
No, no, no. It wasn't what this time. This time wasn't the rambling. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have another point. Well, this is kind of interesting. This is something I've spoken about multiple times, but the way that I broke it down is probably very similar from my IT days when I was software coding, where you look at it and you say, okay, all of this has to accomplish X. And then you break it down into subroutines or major parts where you say, and this needs to accomplish Y, and this has to accomplish Z. So in the case of Bethany and the Kurtherian Gambit, I said all of it has to make Earth safe. And that was 21 books in my mind. And then each the next seven is like, okay, so let's break it into arcs. The first arc, she, can't have where something behind her can cause problems, so she has to clean up the earth. That's book, 7 books. And then the next 7 books is, well, she can't immediately go into outer space. She's actually got to figure out how to get into outer space. So that's the second books. And then the third book, or third set of books, was, okay, now she has to kick some ass in outer space in another area of the universe, of the galaxy. So that was the individual. Then I went down to the 7 books and I said, okay, well, book 1 is going to be about her actually getting turned. And so each one is just a small 1 or 2 sentences about what has to happen. And when I originally wrote them, I think I had 13, my very first time to just kind of start it up. I'm like, oh, I'm good, 13. And that was my intention, was to do 13. And then after like 4 books, 5 books, the fans are so excited. I'm so excited. I'd put out 5 books in just a few months, 3 months. And I'm like, yeah, oh, I probably need, let me, here, 13 is not a good number. Let me see, we should probably move this instead of 3, and we'll make 21 as the choice. If I could do anything, I'd go back and slap the shit out of myself. It's like 21 is bad. And so I personally, don't care to do 21 books in a row quite like that fast anymore. And
Never.
then so Brownstone's got 24. So, and then just as a note, since I'm doing side things, Cincinnati chili spaghetti, I'm okay with. The cinnamon, not so much. Um, so, so anyway, it really was a situation of just understanding the biggest arc and then the minor arcs and the sub arcs and the tertiary arcs and the quad arcs and all of that. And in order to, there was, back at that time, back in the 2015, 2016, there was a lot of talk about how many cliffhangers should you have? Should you have a cliffhanger, not have a cliffhanger? Everyone bitching about it, but then seeing that they'd get really good sell through if they do a major cliffhanger on it, but then they could lose some people. And so, for myself, I was having phenomenal read through. And part of what we figured out was I don't do cliffhangers. That the person is safe. You've parked them somewhere and they're safe. Now, they might not be safe if they go back out, but they're presently safe when you close the book. But what we did do, or in this case, what I did do, was I had a lot of unresolved open loops. And they could be as simple as 3 guys were trying to build a space bar. And then so the first one, they're like, oh, we need to build a space bar. Oh, wait, we want to have a massively cool, clear sheet of some material that lets them look in outer space. Well, how do we get that? And then, that's the open question that they have when they go into book 2. And mentally, also what happens is if you put enough of those in the book, let's say you've got 5 of them, and they're just really cool things the brain wants to close, it gives them an impetus to want to keep going to the next book. You resolve 2 or 3 of those in that book, they feel satisfied, but you've opened 2 or 3 more and, kept moving it on. So for myself, our read through was really, really nice. And that was just one tactic that I ended up doing that wasn't something taught to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's things you like innately. Just they're in there. It's like subconsciously. It's like, I love this. Let's leave that hanging a little bit. And the clear window when we did Terry Henry Walton, 11 books to fill that gap within your TKG.
150 years, 8 books for 2 years.
Yeah. We did skip. We caused a little bit of grief, but hey, 10 books still, 7.75 million words. But then we took them to space because that's where I wanted to write that space opera. So we took this team from the U.S. or from the Earth, and eventually it's like, hey, let's take that loop in the All Guns Blazing, that bar, and we talked about it. It's like, hey, Terry Henry loves beer, so why wouldn't he have a franchise? Because now he's a man of means, and that was one of the specific things you said was every AGB has this 60-foot long clear panel that they can look out into space on. So whether it's on a space station, they're on space stations. So you make sure you have to have that. It's like, oh, okay, we can do that. We can have a bar. I want a driving range kind of thing. So I added some sports stuff and made it just this big, massive sports bar for an old retired Marine to play in. And and it was a nice thing. So it added that element in. So that's like the 45th book in the series, maybe the 50th within this very specific arc. And yeah, it's like the Star Wars expanded universe. It just goes on and on and on. Which I already have 1,700 words written, 1,650 words written this morning on yet another book in TKG, The Kurtherian Gambit, Executioner 9. So 60,000 words on that. And continuing in, we do have an All Guns Blazing reference in it, as well as a Bad Company reference. So
And how do you think some of that helps with the story arc?
because it grounds people. It grounds the fans because they like those references to what they know. Uh, and this is one thing that when you started expanding and writing books in different universes, no longer TKG, because your first, oh geez, because you had Age of Magic, Age of Madness, your first 40, 50 LMBPN books were all Kurtherian Gambit universe,
Yes.
different eras. But when you started expanding out, the JIT readers, the just-in-time readers, the beta readers, they were at the significant loss and were kind of asking a lot of hard and harsh questions because they didn't know the universe yet. So they had a lot of questions that for world building, it's like, well, you had 50 books to learn this universe and now you have one. You're not going to know everything from the 50 books because one, you're going to learn it as you go. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges moving forward was that world, the readers who just embrace this universe and escape into it with each book. All of a sudden, they can't do that with a new series. So world building, you have to bring them along. And this is comfortable. It's like going to that same park that you took the kids to, that you take the dog to, and you go back because it's a warm blanket with you wrap around yourself and dig into the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate bringing it back down because I feel the story arc itself, it's a character. It's a bar, but it's still a character. It's like Cheers. And so to your point of the comfort of them going into it, and I was doing something or reading one of our books last night, and also realizing that just an attitude can be its own character. We talk about or something that I like. In other words, I do like snarky urban fantasy female characters. I love that trope. Love it. And so when we created one and then she pops in and she almost has a certain phrase that feels comfortable to me. Oh, that phrase is used again. You can't use it too often, but when you do, the dopamine hit was was phenomenal last night. And so I really enjoyed that.
Oh, and on a note, you released Amazon finally broke free the Kurtherian Endgame 8 yesterday. So yet another one, and this is in the mainline story.
Yeah.
So what do you think? That finally released. It was like late last night, early this morning.
It had to have been like probably early this morning, and I had just gone to sleep where I hadn't noticed it, and somebody made me get up at god awful time in the morning, my time, in order, yeah. So I was telling before we started that I woke up like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, do I have to get up for I need to get up for what time is it? Oh, it's 4 o'clock. I can still sleep for so long, and then for 2.5 hours, I would wake up. Oh, is it time? No, no. Okay. And I go back to sleep for 20 minutes and wake up. Oh my God, is it time? So the last 2 hours has been a little intense for me. So I'm not quite there. And I realized I don't have any caffeine with me. So Craig, can you give me your opinion on how somebody should probably or possibly do an arc and how long should it be? And I'll be right back.
I'll do it. The thing about a major arc, one where there's an unlimited number of books, is you have that one element that your characters are trying to achieve. In our case, Michael set that standard of justice. You have to, so they're always looking for justice, and the 7-book sub-arcs can keep driving that forward, where you have justice. Because look at your favorite TV series; they all want to go multi-season, but they're really planning for here's one season, and then what about the next season, and then the next season? But it's still the same characters doing the things you like to read about. Something new. Look at Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a great study in overall story arc because some of it is over the top. I mean, they save the universe every single episode. It's like, no, you don't really need to. And some of the some of the newest Doctor Who's are more refined, not saving the entirety of the universe every single episode. That's maybe once a season that you want to get to that extreme, but smaller scale, save one person from doing the wrong thing while the Daleks are threatening or something. I mean, what does that look like, and how do you keep that and keep the story moving forward of saving the universe, but not actually having to save the universe in every episode? So the sub stories, and one thing that we found great success with was that complete story. Uh, Cliffhangers have never worked for me, and I'll speak for me. Open arcs, yes. Cliffhangers, no. Do not leave, and your main character dives off a cliff at the last second. I mean, this isn't Zahadoom, all right. We're not gonna relive that again and again. Um, so so don't end a story that way. That's what I don't end a story that way. The character will. We need the readers happy when they finish, not angry that they don't know. And especially if you're not producing a book every week, then you don't want to leave your readers hanging for too long. So
It can, some people are successful doing it, and it's probably a little bit by genre. And so the personality of the readership and what they're expecting. But our books for LMBPN are predominantly feel good books. You enjoy the characters. There's not a lot of stress. We don't give something where you write in the first couple of books and then they stress out for the next 30 chapters and then it's done.
yeah,
So it's against the product that we promised in the first place. And I have no idea what that is. So I'm kind of, what is Zaha doing?
it, it, it's from Babylon 5. And that's what
Ah,
they told Sheridan, do not go and he went anyway, and then he had to jump off a cliff into a nuclear explosion, and it was all shit, and hell broke loose, and then it ended. You're like, what the fuck happened to him? Bastards. Yeah. I mean, TV is a little different because hey, you're going to come back next week, you're going to watch this, but books, it's I don't do it. I don't do it. I would put that somewhere like 2/3 of the way through the book, and then work to resolve it by the end. So you're like, okay, he didn't die; he was resurrected as the one. And so if you haven't seen Babylon 5, well, already you're way behind the power curve, and I don't care if I just spoiled it for you. He does live, but you still need to watch the whole series.
so one of the an aspect of reader feedback for Arthurian Gambit was, I can't believe that you've made these books interesting past. And it started. I started hearing it around 6, but it got really intense around 7, 8, 9. That they're like, I can't believe it's still interesting. I can't believe it's still interesting. And what I took away from that was that there was already arcs built. I was already writing to a plan, even if it was only 2 sentences. It was a plan,
Yeah,
and so it was consistent and constant movement forward. And when I looked at it, I realized that for a lot of authors, they had started a series. They probably thought 3 to 4 books, but it was so popular that they kept it going. But each time they went back to write, they were coming back to, well, what am I writing to?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so what we found over time is we started coming up with these big 12. We kept reducing it. Let's not do 21. Let's do this. Let's do this. And so we have settled down. This is once again for us, but we've settled down on trilogies, and then we have a 3 trilogy arc planned.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do in quadrilogy, so 4 book arcs. But we at least know that what's this arc supposed to be, what's this arc supposed to be, and what's this last one. Because of the way that we write, oftentimes we've committed to 6 books before we understand how successful book 1 is. So, but at the end of each of those trilogies, we've solved it. We haven't left so much out there that we have to um, do one last book to close it. Typically, we're not certainly not perfect about that. But people, I found it's better to not do 4 and absolutely not 5 before you get rid of the main bad guy or the first part of the series. They really start to bitch. So for us, we've decided that everyone was trained in trilogies. Therefore, trilogies are the arc size that we do. if we were probably doing Arthurian Gambit now, I would probably do it at 7 3s versus 3 7s, and move forward in that concept.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then you can have bigger open loops, not necessarily cliffhangers, because you
Yeah.
want to leave the readers. We wanted to leave the readers feeling good, and that was one thing when I started writing Terry Henry Walton Chronicles with Michael. He said every book you need to leave them feeling good. the
Yeah, it was hard to read your one about the torture.
That was
Good book, but
that is the least favorite of all the Terry Henry Walton Chronicles, and I understand why. I think it needed to be told in that regard so some of the other characters could come into their own and show what they were capable of doing, because that resurrected Ankh and made him a primary, a Ted, I'm sorry, and made him a more primary character because of the work he did. The Alpha stepped back up and said, I can be the Alpha anytime I need to be. And that gave her chops. But as a linking book, it was hard received, and thank goodness to the other six. If book 8 had been like that with that readership, we would have lost them for the rest of the series. But book 8 came back strong. It was extra long, and all the readers came back. Just they didn't like book 7, and it's okay. They didn't say it wasn't poorly written. It wasn't poorly constructed. It just wasn't
no, it
their
was an
flavor.
intense. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was an intense book. I did think it was some really strong writing, really engaged, but just emotionally,
yeah,
that's a really hard concept to come back where your beloved character is in a state of torture while everybody else is having to go find him and save him. So you get
yeah.
that part, but it's rough,
Yeah,
man, rough.
that could have been that, and Bad Company 1 were definitely the most intense books, as far as always on the edge of your seat, your heart hammering while you're going through the story, because it's life or death, like every page. But hard to keep going back to the well. Hal noted there, and that's right. A lot of people will keep a series going and doing more of the same, and you want more of the same, but it has to be different enough that the readers find new energy. And this is where
Hmm.
Doctor Who, after 39 seasons or 107, whatever it is, uh, they, they,
Before
they,
the advent of television.
they have a redone a number of plots, and some they did well and some they didn't. It looked just like identical, same thing. So yes, it's very, very difficult to keep that going. But if you go back to 20 Books of Vegas 2019 videos, you'll find a presentation by Jay Allen on keeping a series interesting, because his series is now 18, 19 books long, a single series, and every new one is interesting. And he talks about 45 minutes on here's what I do to keep it interesting and keep it going. Because I think his initial concept was a trilogy, and now he's 19 books in, and each new book is a runaway bestseller because
Yeah,
the fans they stay on board. Yeah,
we spoke to Jay Allen, and but the thing that it's like you suck at trilogies, Jay. 19 books to tell a 3 book story. Let me
yeah.
tell you,
The trilogy game is weak.
very weak. But your very long series is very strong. Strong are you in the long series? And then Jonathan, I remember a long time ago hearing Jonathan Brazy talk about how he hadn't planned on a really long series, and so his main character was going up and rank, and he hit that Marine thing where with a certain rank you don't go out in the field. What's he going to do now? And I was listening to it because I'm listening to it from a standpoint of, yeah, that's happening to Bethany Ann. She's becoming this, and she's becoming the Empress, and she can't go running around. And so I had to think about that and try to figure out what happens in that long story arc when your character gets to a point where what the fans are wanting to do, which is your character, mine in this case, going around kicking some ass, shouldn't do it because of the role they have
Mm-hmm.
become in the middle of that. So that was challenging. So I just had her go insane.
In the Marine Corps, that's you. It's called you get promoted out of beyond doing the fun stuff. So yeah, you have to. I deployed to the field once, and they said go get your TO weapon, table of organization weapon, and I went and got an M16, and then I got my ass promptly chewed when I got in the field because they said you're staff officer, you need a 9mm. I'm like, I'm second lieutenant. Like, no, pistol. And then the general, I was on general staff, and it's like, hey, he said, if we're shooting at anybody, we've already lost. He said, so go with the pistol just because it won't get in the way while we're here in the command tent. Like, okay, all right. So yeah. So every time I deployed to Iraq, and here I've got a freaking pea shooter, and that's it. I don't even have a rifle. And yeah. Well, that's a different time. So being a staff, you get promoted out of doing anything that you feel
Well, it has to hurt
matters.
because Marines. I mean, every Marine can be on the front line.
Yeah.
Even the
Every
chefs
Marine's a
are
rifleman.
there.
Every
Yeah.
Marine is a rifleman. Yep.
So you just, you got emasculated. They took away your rifle, Marine.
Yeah, they did. But you know what? If somebody falls and then you take their rifle or their saw, their squad automatic weapon, or the M60 or the Madus, the 50 cal machine gun, we're trained in all of them, and the Mark 19 grenade launcher. That is the most fun weapon to shoot because it's a machine gun that shoots 40 millimeter grenades out to like 1,100 yards, I think is the range.
3,300 feet.
Oh, it's awesome because
Jeez.
you're sitting behind it, it's bouncing and it's shooting these things, and you just and they go real slow. So you're watching them and you're stitching a line of explosions while trying to watch the next one's going.
Nothing better.
Except for the fact that I'm there with my pistol and the Marines are doing the fun stuff, blowing shit up. So the the story arcs, characters. Yours started with Bethany Ann, and right now I saw the over on the Arthurian Gambit page, BA is back. It wasn't
Yeah.
Arthurian Gambit. It wasn't Arthurian Endgame. It was BA is back.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was one of my early decisions when this is, by the way, a marketing decision, was to say that the group was the Arthurian Gambit group. Now, I think I would argue one way or the other, but in the beginning, I knew nobody knew who Michael Anderle was. And so I felt that when they read the books, if they're going to do anything, they're going to engage with the characters. And then from the characters, I at least could extract it back out to the series. So I created the Arthurian Gambit page. Now, knowing what I know now, might have made a little bit different decision, but it's hard to engage people at an abstract level of an author you don't know terribly well, or even worse, the company. So it was a few years before we created LMBPN. But the core fan who has been around for 5 years wants Bethany Ann. And so we, a couple of weeks ago, we were doing a few things, and I'm like, we had an opportunity to move the Bethany Ann story forward, and we had to push another one back. So all I did is I was on Facebook and I just text, no images. It's like things have changed. She's coming back early. There will never be another Saturday. Thank God it hit.
Yeah.
So without BA, or no, without the Queen.
Yeah.
And it was just a couple of little sentences, and the fans went nuts trying to make sure that's what I was talking about. Are you talking about Bethany Ann? Oh my God, please be telling me you're talking about Bethany Ann. And it was such a cool feeling to go back into this fan that or this character that the fans loved so much,
Mm-hmm.
and to move it forward. So
I think initially 100% of the fans were BA fans. And then you've branched out. You published a lot of other books since then. I think you might be down to like 90% of the readers are BA fans, but not 100% anymore. I think
no,
maybe some UF. There's a certain sector, like the Western
yeah,
author, the Western readers that we brought on board because of Frank Roderus and
hmm
things like that.
yeah. I believe that for my for myself, I kept searching for a certain. Darn, one second. I kept searching for a certain emotional resonance with the stories. I didn't mind if they were space opera, if they were urban fantasy, if they were people fighting, for money on the ground. But you always had somebody who had a strong moral compass. It was going to kick some ass, and they were going to do whatever was right, whatever it took. So, Oris Saren, we have people who are over in the Oris Saren Facebook page who've never come into the Cortherian Gambit Facebook page. And we have struggled in our business in trying to understand how to integrate and cross promote. But you make a very good point. You know, with as many as that we have, we've been struggling with that. And what do we do? And even now, I spoke or sent a message to our marketing guy and said, hey, I need you to look at what the sales are and the marketing spend is for Cortherian Gambit. Last summer, we did a very high spend, high effort. And then after about 3 to 4 months, we peeled back that spend because it was a lot.
Yeah.
And we let the income ride in for the next 2 to 3 months because 21 books takes them a
Yeah.
while to actually get through it. And so, but I'm looking at that and realizing right now we have great opportunity. If you don't have the wherewithal to write in this moment, see what you can do on the marketing side.
Yeah.
See where you can go. But it's the financial decision. Start, get a spreadsheet out. If I implement it in January, or in this case, April, May, how fast is it going to ramp up? Which the answer can be not that fast. But we have had some very good success by spending a solid amount month after month after month. And the read through keeps increasing, keeps increasing, keeps increasing until something hits in Amazon and Amazon decides, oh, we're going to help push this some. And then all of a sudden you get an abnormal amount of increase.
Yeah.
And so some of those took only 2 months. Some of the sister took 5 months to do that. So, and then of course you don't get the money back for 2 to 3 months. Freaking
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, so it's a cash flow issue. So every time Joe Solari and I talk, we always devolve into cash flow because you've got to cover that now. And last summer, you spent tens of thousands of dollars on one book, advertising one book,
Yeah.
and realizing the return on that. Because Mark Dawson talked about that with the
Amazon
uh,
concierge service,
the
AMS.
concierge service. That's right, and the spend there on a single month, or possibly stretched over 3 months on a single book. You could only do a single title, and it took him. This is Mark, and it still took him. I think he said something like earned 22,000 on a 30,000 spend, but counting
Month
on that
one.
read through on book
Mm-hmm.
one, but counting on that read through to then make the money and bring his other books. Once again, backlist. Mark, I think, has 35 books. Backlist is your friend. Once if you're going for a big spend, it's still going to come back to you got to get them into that first book. Series earn. It's not. This isn't Robert Heinlein where every book is a standalone, and you've got to get them into Robert Heinlein as the brand and the
Mm-hmm.
series. I'm trying to do that with me, Craig Martelle, as the brand. So if they read one series, because now I have multiple complete set omnibus editions, so there's no read through unless they go to one of my other series. So this is really, I'm trying to brand me as, hey, if you like this series, you obviously like the way I write. Try these: more justice, a little more salty language, write for the times, and turn people loose. So it changes. Your marketing has to change and mature, because I'm still torn between spending. I cut off an ad this morning on one of the complete omnibus editions because I'm like, I'd rather advertise the first in the series, advertise that one, then advertise the complete omnibus where they get the whole thing for 99 cents, 2.99, 4.99, and then say, hey, this was great, thanks, and then don't go on to other Craig Martelle titles. So this is the challenge I'm going through. So I'm putting my spend on books one and not on the complete omnibus, which if they're in KU, so if I can get the KU page reads, that's cool, that's great, and that's good money, especially when you've got 3,000 KENP from the box set. But it's something that you need to keep monitoring, that I am trying to monitor and keep under control, and spend my money the best.
We had that problem last summer when we focused on book one of Cortherian Gambit. Previously to a lot of what's going on, we only ever had the books. We didn't have the omnibus series, right? Or if we did, we only had 3 versus 4 versus 7. So now we only, we have 3 sets of 7. And what I found was we were spending a lot of money on book one, and then they would go off and find the omnibus. And so I'm like, this is not what I want, because they buy the omnibus versus giving me the KU, which is what I was trying to accomplish. So we jacked up the omnibus prices to $20 a piece. and it'll just like, would you all stop buying the omnibus? And we'd still get 1 to 2 purchases a day at $20. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And have seriously considered whether or not I should just pull down the omnibus and just only do a series and test that. And I just don't have the guts to do it at the moment. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah. On my free trader complete omnibus, which has sold very well. It's gotten some great visibility thanks to a BookBub International deal, feature deal. I raised that price from 99 against Michael Anderle's advice to $4.99, trying to find a point where if they bought it, I was okay. And if they KU'd it, I was great because it's 3,000 KENP. So even at lower rates, it's still $12.50, $13 for a complete read through. And I'm counting on people that once they start reading it, they'll read the whole thing. And my revenue on that now has been the same for 2 months following that price change.
Well, it could have been so much higher, and you can't prove me wrong.
I cannot. All I know was it was dropping off pretty significantly at 99 cents. If I was only selling 10 copies, that's $3.50 in
that's an interesting
royalties.
question. So I wonder if, because it was dropping off at 99 cents, and there is a stigma attached to pricing, the quality of something based on the pricing. I wonder if you had basically gone through all of the cheap people looking for the people looking for the cheap price, and by moving the bargain hunters. And I wonder whether or not, because you went to $4.99, now you went to a set of people who just ignore 99 cents just by rote. And you're catching those people who are willing to go $4.99, this many books, excellent value.
Mm-hmm. I have I live the price. The pricing is one thing that I really get into hard. I have complete box sets at $4.99, $2.99, and 99 cents, and watching them all and seeing the ad spend. The 99 cents box sets, needless to say, the ad spend is higher because it's resonating more, and a lot of people are clicking. The challenge is when they pick up a 3,000 KENP box set, when are you actually going to see this revenue? And you have to watch the book ranks every single day to say, okay, I must have gotten a bunch of borrows. And it's all interpolated because you don't get that data. So this is the challenge on advertising with KU for a complete box set. Hey, it jumped up in rank. I must have gotten some borrows. I hope they start reading right away. And in 2 weeks, I'll get the page reads and start getting paid back for the cost of this ad. Because ACOS, so they'll tell you you're getting killed on these, but as long as your page reads stay high, people are borrowing it from somewhere. So I'm running Facebook ads and Amazon ads simultaneously, just trying to keep it viable. So that one is, I'm at probably a $60 a day spend to earn $100 a day. So only making 40. I want like 150 to 200, but I want nice. Things are different right now, and any sale is a good sale, especially if it's more than you're spending, which is the fact every single day. So I'm okay, but it's not. I think it could be better, and I'm not sure which direction I want to go. I think I'll probably change up Amazon ads and target a different readership.
Check out Facebook, see whether or not you can get a good CPC right now. I mean, just what we saw on Amazon, I don't remember if we spoke about it on this show, but we have hundreds of ads, and a lot of our ads were kind of in the middle of the pack on the cost per click bid. So we weren't the highest who were, absolutely grabbing the opportunity. So we were a little bit lower. Well, when the coronavirus stuff happened, a lot of people just dropped their ads or dropped it way back. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we were safely in the center, and all our ads became uncovered. All of our people are like, oh, I'm with everybody. And everybody took 2 steps back. Yeah. And all of a sudden we're the ones, and my ad spend went through the roof. Because of that situation. And we had, it was 2 or 3 days of us trying to figure out what happened, because I get notices on my phone. American Express has been pinged by Amazon. American Express has been Facebook. American Express. Oh my God, what is happening? Yeah. And so in the space of 2 or 3 days, we probably jumped $2,000 or $3,000 in spend above our plan.
Yeah. Well, and yesterday was a big day. I saw that. I'm linked to Michael's account on the advertising, so I can run some of my own ads on my books that are published with LMBPN. And I saw 3 notices yesterday. So yesterday was a big day for LMBPN, or a big day for Amazon, one of the two.
And I'm not paying any attention in the background. I'm just reading my books, and ding, Ding, you've just spent $500. Ding, you've just spent five.
What hey, Vegas shut down. You were missing those roulette wheels, man. You were missing the spinning wheels on the slot machines.
Which yeah. I don't miss them if they're gone, but it's be nice every once in a while when you've had a hard month and you're like, thank God that month is over. Let me go blow off some steam. I personally think of roulette more as like playing video games as a kid where you go in there with $5 and you're not coming out with anything. I mean, you're spending that money. So, if I come back with any money, it's a big deal. If I played 5 or 6 hours on the same amount of money, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, but I officially, my first day off, I was thinking of all the really cool shit technology wise I wanted us to go into the future, and I'm studying all this stuff, and it's just not there. But I rolled that into Friday and then decided, okay, that's not possible. What about this? And by the end of Friday, last night, I'm realizing, I need to just make sure everything that we're doing is on track. It's not glamorous, it's not awesome, but it's necessary. What that has to do with us talking about story arc, I don't know. Maybe it's the story arc of your business. I'm going to use that one. The story arc of your business is what's really relevant here. You hear a lot of people talking about don't lower your ad spend during times of crisis. That's true to a point. If you have no future income or you're having to spend more because somebody else needs money in your family, there's only so many things you can do.
Yeah.
But I think it's not, I think we can't tell what each other's concerns are. Some people are like, I'd rather know for sure I have this money in the account, even if it dries up in 3 months, with the perhaps expectation that in 3 months we're going to be out of this.
Yeah.
So, you do you. Just recognize that within the space of advertising, it's generally considered keep going. We had to buckle, we had to go in there and really tighten up our ads because all of a sudden we're spending way more than we need to. And
yeah,
so,
more than you need to. That's right. The return on that investment, you want to keep your return on your investment the same or better, taking advantage of opportunity. One thing Mark Dawson said was FB ads are starting to deliver big time because everybody on the freaking planet is on FB. So there's this whole wide variety, and there's a whole new generation, people's parents who are now getting on Facebook because otherwise they don't see anything that's going on. They don't get to go talk to their kids or sit on the porch and people stop by and talk. I mean, the old days, 40s and 50s, when that's why porches existed, so people could stop by and everybody hung out and neighborhoods trolled around and talked to each other. So you're seeing all of this additional engagement on Facebook. So look at those, but Facebook will spend your money. Don't you have to manage your business, and your business includes what you have for your home life, and that's cash now. You don't want to spend all your cash now and then not get that return on investment and have no cash later, as well as no income, no revenue coming later. Yeah. That's the double whammy doom.
Well, you know what? Here's another idea that perhaps is a little bit crazy. You understand how to run this business. Find your cousin, Uncle Fred. Kids especially are good for this. Make them right. Get them to give you product.
Yeah. Beat them senseless. Don't kill them though. That won't go over well when the coronavirus ends and police can actually come to your house. So questions and answers. One of the things I wanted to do today was Q&A. So please run up your questions in the comments, and we'll do our best to direct them to Michael.
You jerk.
Well, now that you're awake, you wanted me to. You said you had just gotten up like 15 minutes ago. So
I like that. Hal J. Green, riding slave farms for the world.
family. It's a family business, is what you can say.
Two of my three sons have written. One of them did it because I told him he couldn't. Apparently, is how he interprets how reality was. He says, I can't do this. I'll show him. And the other one does it, and that works with me on the anime series, and we'll be going into another one. So he's part of the business, so to speak, and he loves doing it. Unfortunately, he's a little bit of a millennial, so manana works really good for him sometimes rather than get it today. And that's a little bit annoying. I'm like, you can make six figures. If I was told at his age I could make six figures by writing, I would have typed I would have bones at the moment. That would be it. That's all I would have. Yeah, if only my dog. That's awesome.
Oh, Gedge, of course. What a good puppy.
But
So, but we're taking your questions, and I'd love to have a question for Michael, but we talk very very frequently. So, and usually it's not uh, for public consumption,
well, that's my side's
mostly because
usually
of me.
fine. Yeah, let's clarify.
We do have some good laughs, so it's a nice breakup of the day. Everybody should have a friend where they can call and have a good laugh, no matter what else is going on during the day. So, Big Red, I think, was the topic of derision yesterday,
Yeah,
and
so I'm
probably
gonna
the
go
day
through
before too.
possibly. All right, if releasing a series, what's the normal? So I go a little bit back and forth depending on how many are in the series, but generally it's been if you release book one, day one, book two would come out 7 days later, book three would come out 7 days later, then book four would come out 2 weeks later, right? And then if you had another one, it'd be at least a month later, somewhere in that perspective of things. So that gives you one, two, three, four is effectively a month, I think. So one, two is a week. The second one comes out, that's the 15th of the month. The third one comes out, that's the 20. Oh, so week, 2 weeks. That's the fourth one. There's your trilogy. If you wrap
Mhm.
it up in the omnibus or box set, that's at least a month away.
Yeah,
Craig, I think it's many months away. So,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
I'm not a big fan. They do take some sales away, but the big thing is that the distraction on marketing. Because with a omnibus edition, it's a whole different product. So you market it different, you can advertise it different, you can promote it differently, and you'll see a balance in sales. I've seen some incredible sales. I'm a big fan of if you can wait a year before you box set it, and then just hit that fresh. Cancel, drop all your ads for the single books, and then run the box sets. But also, the reason people try to squeeze 30 days on their releases is because of the Amazon algorithms. You get that new release push for that first 30 days or so. And so if you can release two books in that, you'll always have a book rotating through that new release page and getting some love. That orange banner, it does draw people's eyes if you make it on somebody else's also bots or other books you might be interested in. And there's one with an orange banner. I know my eyes go immediately to it, and I'm like, who's the author? Good on them. And First, that hey, they're on my also bots, and second, I click over on it, and if it's a sponsored product ad, sorry, you just paid for me to research if I'm on your also bots, which is the big thing you're shooting for also bots. And sorry, it is what it is. um so my release cycle, I'm going to rewrite the mystery series. It's 9 books. I'm going to publish just one every week for 8 weeks, and just publish it as soon as I'm done, and we'll do one a week for 8 weeks. Other series I've done 2 in a month, every 18 days, and that was okay. It keeps the readers on board. You don't have to. Your marketing is really simple at that point. You're feeding your readers constantly. Once a month, Terry Henry Walton did exceptionally well with once every 30 days or less. And we managed the reader expectations, pretty much telling them you're getting a book a month in this series. And they came
until you
along for the
didn't.
until I
And
didn't, and then they bailed. Man, they were gone. It took me 2 more books because I did 5. It took books 6 and 7 before they all came back on board, and then they were all on board for 8, 9, 10. Especially those books were extra long, so we released 100,000 word books each month for 3 months. That resonated really really well with the bank account. So once a month is and this is all you have to do is you manage your reader expectations.
yeah,
if
you
you
don't
if you
have to do it this quick, by the way.
No,
You just
no.
said what's the best if you're doing something
Yep.
and you have them already.
Yeah. How far would I would release less than a month apart, shooting for like 28 days. I pick a day. Monday is my day. My readers expect new releases on Monday. They expect a sale on Saturday. I will sometimes shoot something on Wednesday or Thursday if I'm having a sale running free days or something like that. So those are the kinds of things I do with the releases. I've released a little over 100 books, so I have some experience in this, and I it's always, I tell the readers, here's when you can expect this series, when you can expect these books, up through at least 3 or 4. After that, if they're on board, they'll come back. But that's where having a newsletter, you want them somewhere where you can touch their nose and say, hey, I've got a new book out in that series that you love. And this is, I've been working with Goodreads to try to touch readers within particular series as well. And that process and that experiment is still out. The results are still out, but we're working to try to figure out a way to make Goodreads work for us, the indies.
So one other thing that you can do is if you're going to have longer ones, just for whatever reason, let's say you decide 4 books a year is what you're going to do, and you're going to be consistent with it. Just do pre-orders. You're going to get hundreds potentially and put them out at full price or full price minus $1, and that's what they're buying it for the whole way that they go through it. So we've have been very fortunate. We started a pre-order on one book back late last year, and by the time it came out, we had about 2,000 pre-orders ready for it. So it made the last day of the month spike significantly on income. And one of the reasons I chose to use the last day of the month for a very popular series is because when it releases, you have 60 days before you're going to get that money back, the least amount of days possible to get that money. And you have the best chance on getting a KU bonus if you are able to do that by putting it out on the last day of the month, because then, yeah, you're going to lose a few KU or pages read that day. But generally speaking, you're ramping up and you ramp up into the month. And so that's certainly another strategy that you can use. And then for us, I remember telling, T.S. Paul, that our income spiked somewhere between day 12 to 14, and that's still fairly consistent.
I think that's still applicable. Yeah.
Yeah. So from that, we talked about just releasing, because he was releasing books in the 25 to 30,000 range, and every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, and he grew a business in just 7 to 8 weeks tops. He had a really strong, pretty high 4-figure month, just really fast by doing that. Because you caught them doing it. They're reading, they get another one in 2 weeks, and they get really into it. And so you get some really strong fans that way. So what has changed? That's interesting because I was speaking with someone yesterday about the coronavirus, and some individuals that this person had spoken to, they've lost anywhere from 20 to 50% of their business month over month due to this. And LMBPN has not. We have, we're probably at most high single digit, so 7 to 9% tops that we've lost in income from it that you could attribute to it. Others are doing even better. And let's not even begin to talk about the children's authors who
Yeah.
are, bringing it in really high. Now, nonfiction, I got the impression from listening to one of the reports that perhaps nonfiction is not as strong, which is strange because I thought people were in fact getting it strong 2 weeks ago. So I don't know what's going on there. Do you have any thoughts on that question?
I, I from an author's perspective, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you got to produce product. You're home now, but the kids might be home too. So you might have some certain challenges that then you need to rewicker your routine in order to still produce. As I've said in previous shows, those who have product throughout this will top those who don't. And I mean, you're self-published. You're a business. This is your revenue stream, whether you had it before or you're now engaging it because, hey, I just got laid off. I have no revenue stream besides unemployment and a handout from the government. And then what happens? Well, that will hopefully get you through 2 months. So if you've got product, you've written your baby, you're putting it out there. eBay, here's my baby, buy it, and then buy another one that looks just like it. And that's so here in 20 books, you can go through, you can learn what you need to know. There's a lot of stuff, way to do things for free to get your book out there. And that's but you can't get a book out there if you don't write it. I know too many people who have descended into the depths of depression because, hey, the world's ending and there's nothing I can do about it. I can't leave my house. I can't do these things. And this is where I put your business hat on, say, but I run a business. I'm a professional. And as a professional author, you can come through this as a caretaker, as a person with who's susceptible. whether you have asthma or diabetes or overweight is one thing that they're now finding or thinking. Those kinds of things. How do I deal with going on? I'm afraid to go outside, and it's okay to feel that way. It really is. But there's also the time where you put your hat on and say, oh, but I'm a business professional and I can do it right here in the privacy and safety of my own home. So that's where you do it. If you can't produce, grab one of your books on your backlist, even if you only have one. How can I market this better? Look at your reviews and say, okay, people are saying it's this. Maybe I didn't target the right genre. Maybe I didn't. Let me check that blurb and run it past some author friends. We don't do blurb reviews on 20 books to 50K, but there are a lot of subgroups that you can go to and ask and say, hey, let me tweak this blurb, because it might be something as simple as that, because the blurb sells the book. So these are all things you can do as an author. As a reader, there is now all kinds of content out there. The Trad Pub, I've seen authors I respect who are putting out, oh my God, it's the end of publishing. And it's like, no, it's the time, it's indies rise. It's our time, because we live in the ebook space. I'm not going to, Trad Pub set up readers and readership. They created the genres and able to be able to market to them better. So we owe all of what we do to them for setting that up and creating readers. So I am very, very happy that Trad Pub, but their business model, putting on my business consultant hat, their business model has been struggling and suffering. And one thing that they didn't do well was they priced their ebooks to drive paper sales. Well, now that there are no paper sales, I expect they either need to drop their prices on ebooks, or indies will dominate and grab market share. I love market
So
share.
you want more market share?
I love market share.
The question that came up a little bit earlier related to what genres that we're seeing. In general, romance, mystery,
Yeah.
thriller are the biggest genres. They come at it from two different dichotomies. Romance is very 99-cent driven, although you do see romance authors who are making great inroads at $3.99, $4.99, and $5.99. But in general, it's 99 cent in KU is the typical strategy with a lot of ad spend. And that's one thing that is interesting about romance is a lot of ad spend. Now, we on the other side, on the mystery thriller, it's usually that you're going to have a lot of big names. So you're going to have your Pattisons and everybody else. But we're seeing the indies actually get in there and starting to accomplish a lot of it. And part of that is because the covers are basically effectively saying, I'm a professional mystery or thriller or whatever, because they're matching the quality of the covers. And then people are like, well, I just want another one.
Yeah.
So,
They can,
and now,
people can't tell the difference, because
yeah,
we're putting out stuff that is indistinguishable from those books that they grew up with, and what they're seeing now from their, if they go on Barnes and Noble, our covers are comparable
or
to,
better.
or better. And yeah, we don't rest on our laurels, as it may be. We're always seeking for that little bit better to grab the eye and bring the reader to it, to flip that tab over and look at the blurb. So yeah, I mean, blurb game is critical. So if you can't write, go just read a bunch of blurbs from your favorite books and write yours better.
Oh, that's right. I was going to mention that. One of the reasons that I do the blurbs the way I do is because I pulled out a spreadsheet and then I grabbed like five, or let's just say it was like 3 weeks worth of BookBub newsletter ads. And I went through and grabbed all of the different ways because they sum up a
Oh,
book in
book
two or
club.
three sentences. And so just go
Yeah.
grab, go put yourself on their newsletters, read what they do. They have the data. They believe that what they're doing is the best way based on doing this thousands of times and
Yes.
every single day and testing it, and then go read and see how it resonates with you, and then just do yours the same. I
With
actually built,
millions of subscribers,
yes,
millions of data points every day. Yep.
I basically made Mad Libs. I would go through there and go, okay, noun, blah blah blah, verb, blah blah blah, and I just deconstructed it, and that's how I built the way that we pretty much do blurbs now. So that's something that I would suggest. And to answer the question related to KU royalties, sales royalties, and actual, do I even have it on here? That goes to show you I don't even pay attention to
I
ebook paid Go ahead.
I can do a guesstimate. I'm probably 70-30 on page reads to ebook sales, and that is 85% to 90% of my overall revenue each month. The other 10 to 15 is physical books and audio.
Yeah, so for us, we are well over twice our ebook sales is our KU income, well over twice. And of that, our print sales is less than, oh goodness, 0.02 is our
It's a
print
small
sales.
number. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really small number. So there you go. Yeah, it's about zero point 0.3. 0.2 to 0.3% is our book sales to everything else. But our KU number alone is normally 70 plus 70, 68 to 70%.
But we've
But,
designed it that way. We've
yeah.
designed our whole approach that way.
Yeah, so that's actually a very valid point. Don't assume because that's how it works for us that that's how it works for others. Wide, a person who is predominantly wide is going to give you a completely different number, obviously. And for some people, it's genre by genre. If you go to romance, we're pretty pitiful on the KU side as a percentage because
Yeah.
romance can be huge KU. So now you have to
Massive
think about it.
consumers, massive consumers of content. The readers,
Right.
the romance readers.
And then on the genre, for us, we're predominantly in the sci-fi, urban fantasy area, but urban fantasy beats our sci-fi, beats our horror, just from a general perspective of which genres work best.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm I'm with you. I don't see horror sales as that good. There's Stephen King, and then there's everybody else. Thriller. It was great to see. It's great to see folks like L.J. Ross, Mark Dawson, Mel Comley hitting the top markets over there in the UK and here in the US. I mean, it's good to see AC Fuller pop up every now and then on the big lists for thrillers and things like
Hmm.
that. Diane Capri. I mean, these are indies who are right there. And the thriller market, I think, is more challenging. It's one of the biggest. It's you have a lot of competition there, but the competition is for a great story. You have plenty of readers willing to read a great story, and they don't care who actually published it unless they see J.D. Robb or Dean Koontz, and then of course their favorite authors are going to pick those up. But um, science fiction, my genres, there it is. It still has to go back to the story. It still has to go back to an engaging blurb. Science fiction is a new concept in a different universe with a familiar trend like justice or characters finding themselves as they're going on a journey, even if it's in outer space. And one thing that from what Michael said earlier, if you have a character that's trying to kick somebody's ass and they're in zero G, then you're writing comedy. So anyway, next
I
question.
didn't, I don't
Ass
recall
kicking
saying
in
that.
zero G is comedy. It's slapstick.
Yeah, yeah, and I'd be curious, Craig. I'd find it interesting if you would pull two or three different people in sci-fi together.
Yeah.
Grab a military sci-fi person, grab a space opera person. I mean, it would be interesting to go through and just have four of you discuss a genre, like the
Okay.
different aspects of that genre. Because I've always been curious. Because I don't personally do military sci-fi, so I don't know much about it. But it became very popular a few years ago because people were like, "Hey, nobody's over there. Pile in."
You can thank Chris Fox for that.
I think he's had his yes, he's
The right
felt
to
that before.
market based
Yeah.
on his destroyer launch, and yeah. But
That's
the people who are still writing in that genre wrote it well because the readers are there, and it's not just, hey, throw something in here. Lit RPG, it's like, hey, they're hungry readers looking for 180,000, 200,000 word books, but they're also, once the market started getting some content, they became discriminating. So once again, it always goes back to, you got to write a good story.
yeah. Yeah, Chris Kennedy, definitely.
Oh, we can blame Chris Kennedy just because he's Navy. I mean, we don't need to have a different reason.
I am equal. No, you're not. There's Marine, and then there's the next tier. And you probably put Air Force at the bottom, don't you?
I actually I started in the
Or
Air
Coast
Force. So,
Guard?
yes, I put them on the bottom. Coast Guard has never been DOD, and I don't knock what Coast Guard does. It sucks because they're out there dealing with drug dealers. They're doing a lot more hands on day to day than Marines do, because Coast Guard, they're always out there saving lives off the coast. But they weren't DOD. So when people call them military, it's like, come on, man. They were Department of Transportation when I was in, for Pete's sake. So it's like a police force, but oh, by the way, they have the Coast Guard Academy. So I'm not knocking Coast Guard, but I don't categorize them in with the 4 services. And do we have 5 now because of Space Force?
Space Force. That always comes to mind when I hear that. Space Force. It's like an 80s cartoon special.
I love that. The Battleship Yamato shooting that big thing. I love that series. What was that? Space?
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
Somebody save me. Save me from myself. I know what this. As soon as I see it, it's like, yeah, damn it. It's right there.
Yes, and he's got 5K words. My third son actually did write 5,000 or 6,000 words one time. I'm like, this is amazing, and he's like, yeah, off he went.
That's cool, and that's every human being is a storyteller, but getting it in writing is something. It's a little bit different talent, and it takes practice. And it's great to see, Anne. Congratulations, getting some feedback, smoothing it, and making a story that, hey, now is compelling and people want to read. So it's
well, there's this question. Go ahead.
Why is my Uber driver yelling at me? Anyway,
what are you bringing up here? You should not be allowed. You do not have the permission. Something should take away your rights. Related to, Tony. Okay, you are not permitted. The question was related to, with everybody jumping into this, what do you think the future is? That question is every year. It doesn't matter how long we've done it. It was there before I was writing, and everyone said, oh, we don't have the benefit of 2012 when it was the gold times. We don't have the benefit of 2014. We don't have the benefit. I mean, everybody says that. Typically, here's what happens. They come in, and if they write a bad book, it's almost like we could draw this out, right? Like a logic diagram. Is this a bad book? Yes. Go to the bottom of the pile. You can ignore those. The book comes in. Do they have any ability to market? Actually, is this a good book? Yes. Okay. Do they have any good ability to market? No. Go to the bottom of the pile. And the logic ends up putting 90 to whatever percent of the books to the bottom of the pile. They'll never be seen. You remember that warehouse in Indiana Jones and the Ark of the Covenant was just stored? That's what happens to a lot of incredible authors. It's sad to say, but it's true.
Yeah.
A lot of incredible authors, and you hear about the rare one that perhaps, a Kardashian, Craig Kardashian Martelle, or
oh my God, where did that come from? It's like last week's show recycled.
Exactly, because it's so fucking hilarious. Oh, I think I'm the first one who
Craig with a K.
Yes, but anyway, so it really doesn't, frankly, matter. You have to not only write a good book. Now, the one way that you can actually bypass a lot of this is write a book in a brand new genre that people are hungry for, which is just as rare as anything else, but hit that, and then the fans who want to read it will find it eventually. So you hope you get a few fans who tell 5 friends, who tell 20 friends. Lit RPG was that way. You could just have a crap cover. Now, while everyone else was duking it out with quality covers in urban fantasy, because that was understood, Lit RPG, I mean, hell, I give Dakota Crouch shit all the time about his black and white Crayola book covers. And, but he wrote incredible stories in a very new genre, and they're willing to overlook that just to get the story.
And he built his a fantastic and loyal readership.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So there we go, Craig Kardashian.
You bastards. You're dead to me. You're dead to me. All of you.
that Oh, that's a trope. I gotta love that trope.
No, it's not a trope. I'm pretty sure it's not a
Kardashian.
trope. Not a trope at all.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
So okay. Yeah. So in all of that, my encouragement from that is it's never a bad time to get started
Yeah, that's right.
because a bunch of people are never going to finish. For one, that's always been true. You have the ability to get out there yourself. The amount of quality information, if you if you're willing to make sure it's quality, but the amount of quality information has never been better. The ability of somebody to help a fellow author has never been better because the quality of the friends that you would connect to are high. What does it matter if you had 10 amazing friends who, amongst all of them, had 22 Facebook friends, right? But now, if you connect to someone, they might have two or 300 on their email list, which is not a lot necessarily,
Yeah.
but two or 300 good readers, and now you grab just eight of them, and now you're at 1,600 to 2,000. When you do a release, that's a platform to start with,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So don't be depressed, don't be down. Grab your socks, pull them up, throw on your shirt, whatever. Get out there and do it because that is what it matters. We
If
have seen the success.
And if you're a writer, write the stories. Don't say, well, I'm going to start writing later when the market opens up. No, that's when you need to have content. So start writing now. And I can't tell you what genre because it goes with it's that Venn diagram of what do you like to write and what sells. And you
Yeah.
want to hit that happy spot in between. And what you like to write, I'm sure it's not so damn narrow that there's no readers there. And this is where you have to expand your horizons and find something that's big enough that you can find a respectable number of readers. And genre equals marketing. You want to find the absolute biggest genre with the most readers that would like what you write. And then there it is. There's your whole campaign for brand, your author brand. Write the book. So now you should be writing. I mean, from my perspective as a professional author, because if something changes in 6 to 8 months and you've already written 10 books, well, you know what? You've got 10 books worth of experience in writing better. You're not going to be a better writer not writing. I don't know how that works. Yes, you can read and read critically, but you still need to put those words to page yourself because I can read everything there is about golf. And until I actually swing the club, I have no idea what I can do.
Hmm.
Word.
And we're and mic drop by the Craig Kardashian.
Look, you're at it.
Yes, I enjoy laughing as well, and thank you by the way for the shout out for the cursing. I've tried to
Yeah.
tone it down. If you've seen anything from mine from 4 years ago, and part of it is because I have relationships now with corporations that are in the trad pub world, and perhaps I shouldn't be as mavericky because other people are depending on me. If it was just me, I
Nothing
probably
would
wouldn't
change.
change. Yeah, nothing would
Yeah.
change. My wife's arguments, who has been the one who's beaten this into my head, wouldn't have much to sit on. But others do depend on me, and good, bad, or indifferent, that matters.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the same with me. I mean, you got kids in the room. Most people do, or your dog. Your dog's probably heard it from you before either. But still, yes, we will do our best. We will try. Sometimes they slip, and we apologize, but we will try to do better by everybody, or at least give a warning. F bombs to follow. Carpet bombing. Put on your headphones. Carpet bombing inbound.
yeah, I've heard stories of people saying that they was listening to the podcast in the car with their kids, and all said, "Ooh, mom, they said the oh, shoot, oops, oops."
Oh goodness.
I am almost to the end of my big red, so I know you have to do something as well. How are we sitting for time, and how can, if
It's
anything, help people?
looks like 78 minutes. Hopefully, people got a lot out of this. I need to get going. We're going to be heading to the grocery store here very soon. My wife's probably up out there. I have the door closed. So, thank you all for joining in. I hope
Thank you.
Michael and my ramblings. We had 54 people watching live, but I know a lot of people watch them later. So thank you all for coming in. We saw a lot of people's names. Let me go through really quickly and give people a shout out. We've got Carrie Joy, Lawrence, of course. Thanks, Lawrence, for tuning in. I hope you're well And I do like the hairless look. I think you should go with that and keep going with that. Guy Anthony DeMarco always. Uh, Hal, Ann Lown, thank you again. Ann is probably the one who will be cutting it over to YouTube later. So thank you in advance, Ann. You're an all-star on the admin team. And quite a few others. I thought I saw B. Stevens there as well. And thank you all. This isn't Patreon. This is just shout out. Thanks for listening. This is Craig and Michael CNM show. Tomorrow I've got another guest. And on Monday, Michael and I will return. And we're bringing Kevin J. Anderson with us. So look forward to that. And hopefully Michael can have like a normal night's sleep and not ruin the last 2 hours wondering if he's oversleeping. So we've got that going for us.
I'd already forgotten that Monday was happening.
Set your alarm now.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to miss another chance to talk with Kevin. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Kevin's always a fun interview. He has insight because he's got 30 years in the industry. How do you stay motivated after 30 years? And one thing we're talking to Kevin about is dictation, something that everybody has looked into, might look into. And how does Kevin stay so productive after so long in the industry? And he knows things that just because he's been there and seen them firsthand. So an incredible amount of insight. We got to meet him firsthand at DragonCon first, invited him to Bali. He came to Bali, and then we really got to know Kevin, and that was a great thing to hang out and talk about things and learn. I mean, this is our business.
He's a pretty humble man too. I mean, sometimes I have to go, I'm sorry, but you do realize you're Kevin J. Anderson, right? Just curious.
23 million books in print. And so if you're curious, listen to the show on Monday, as well as if you can find books by Mike Shatskin. Take a look at those because it talks about the industry. If you really are, especially if you're ramping up to be a publisher, there's an awful lot of insight about this industry that you are now diving into and mistakes that we'll see repeated if you don't know what happened in the first place and what they were and how they came about as mistakes and get improved. So,
and if you're wondering why book selling through bookstores can be challenging, but as well as like completely messed up, look up his dad, Leonard Shatskin, in Cold Type.
In Cold Type, I am plowing through that, Michael. I have it. I am reading a little bit each day and plowing
the
through.
book I made you buy.
You made me buy it, and it's a lot. It is a lot of good stuff. So anyway, Shatskin, Michael, or Leonard, enjoy the books. Thanks for coming in, and we will see you tomorrow, same time.
Bye, everybody.